Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the Western Hunting Hub podcast. This episode, Mark and I are chatting about getting some access to private land and some of those tips and tricks. I had mentioned that Mark had come on as a podcast producer, and one of those reasons is for his networking skills. And I've had some conversations with Mark and his ability to just chat with anyone and I don't really have that skill. So I've heard you say a couple of times that you've had some success, even just driving around Colorado and getting some access across some private or something like that. And that's incredible. Just those conversations right there led me to believe this would be a great one to cover with you and let you kind of take away a lot of this discussion as far as getting private land. But before we do that, just got a real quick update on two things. In a previous episode, I had gear purchases, and I wanted to share some of those and what I found out. So the Superfeet insoles have been stellar, and I love them. That was something that I had purchased and threw in my old boots. I haven't even thrown them in my good hunting boots yet because I'm trying to preserve some life, but my older boots, and it literally gave them some good life. So it was like $41 on sale for Superfeet insoles instead of the worn out ones. So I was kind of excited about that. And then the other purchase was the Goal Zero solar charger, and the panel so far is good. The Venture 35 power pack is garbage, not worth it. I charged it up, got full charge, and plugged it in my phone and to see how many charges I could get, and it drained it down to one little bar. So I don't think that's worth it. The company said, well, some newer phones require a lot more power. And it's like, well, then I don't want it because you got to keep up with the times and keep up with the technology. So I thought that was kind of dumb. Not impressed so far with that Goal Zero power pack, but the solar charger been good. And then one other quick thing, Ridge Patrol Kickstarter is officially live. They launched it the other night. They're running it for 60 days. This time they're looking to raise $187,000. There's a few ways people can support. They can go to Kickstarter and pre-order the Ridge Runner 2.0 pant or Cloudburst jacket, or simply you can make a donation simply as a pledge. And they're going to try and focus on a little bit more with the donations instead this year. It can make a huge difference. A small donation, meaning $30 is what they're asking. It has the power to change their ability to do what they're doing and providing female hunting clothes. So at the end of the 60 days, they make the goal pledge people, they're going to charge their cards, and we'll start production on the pants and jacket. And if they don't raise that, then they're not going to make those pants and jacket, and they start over. So just a quick little shout out to Ridge Patrol and what they got going on there. So let's get started. You found some success finding private land access. What's that all about? Where'd you start? What'd you do? What's your game plan in getting access?
So when I first started out, I was just super excited to just find anybody and everybody I could, get permission to hunt because I wanted to hunt everywhere. And I was able to have some success in that. And I think that a little bit of that helped me learn how to talk to people. But I found the places that I was looking didn't fit the needs of what I was looking to hunt. So it wasn't necessarily the best properties out there to be hunting. I find one thing is find land that fits what you're specifically looking to hunting. So what that means is doing the background work. That means looking on onX, looking on all your hunting apps, finding out, the different foliage, vegetation, crops around, finding out if you're hunting out west, okay, how much public land is around, how much private land. If you have a ton of public land around, odds are the people on private land are not going to let you hunt out there, just because everybody's asking already to go out there. From there, another way to get in is go for the low-hanging fruit. So being in the Midwest, one thing that I have found a lot of success in is bear hunting. If you are able to go pull up a driveway and find an old farmer that has bird feeders out, I can almost guarantee you, if somebody's not already bear hunting that, you have permission. Bear come over and they knock down bird feeders like crazy, and that usually is a good way to start a relationship with the local farmer, to be able to move on to eventually deer hunting. Another one is coyotes. A lot of people have pet chickens and they think a lot more than they are, but they think coyotes are killing them. So you go out coyote hunting, build that relationship, build that rapport. Pretty soon you're going to be able to deer hunt the property as well. A buddy of mine, Ethan, he's on TikTok with I believe that it's Hunt Appalachia. So APPALACHIA. And he gave me this really good analogy. You got to look at the public land or private land that you're hunting as dating somebody's daughter. So as long as you're showing them respect, you're treating them well, you're going to have permission to continue to date that hunting land. Now, same goes the other way. If you're disrespectful towards the landowner, if you're disrespectful towards the land, odds are they're not going to let you keep dating that land. So that's one way that you can look at it, which I thought that was a pretty good analogy.
Yeah.
So after you go for the low-hanging fruit, you got to do your homework on the landowners. So onX, I primarily use onX to be able to look at, okay, how much land do they have? They don't have the phone numbers on onX. I think that there's one of the other hunting apps out there that does have the phone numbers. But from there, you can do the good old-fashioned Google search and hope that if you're putting in their name, middle name, county, usually you can find somebody or some relation if you're trying to narrow down the search a little bit more. onX is a great tool.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I've gone onto a bunch of those real sketchy websites, like the white pages ones, and you can pay $1 sometimes when you need to get contact, and you get spammed later on. You're gonna unsubscribe from 80 things, but it's gotten me permission, and I've got an antelope right there on the wall that came from finding that permission. Somebody 3 states away that owned that property had somebody managing it, and through 3 different phone calls, getting a hold of the right person, the son that manages the property, and then he had to call me back because somebody he thought was going to be hunting it that weekend, and he didn't care. After I chatted with him for a minute, he's like, "Oh, absolutely, yeah. Why don't you go out there and do that?" And then gave him a call back and gave him a big thank you and sent him a picture. So it's kind of a cool success story of during the season, which can be not always the best. I don't know what you've done for during the season, but sometimes you're in a pickle. Like you're needing a spot, and if you have gone through your public land options, your private land options, I've had to go and just do those searches, and on antelope, if you got like a little chunk of 40 acres, 100 acres, 200 acres, that's not a lot on for antelope. You're getting permission for something like that is not always that beneficial because there might not be an animal within a mile of that, and it's hard to go hunt. So, or it's pointless to go hunt. But then as you're driving, covering ground, and you see, oh, there's some antelope on this field in a place that you traveled to, um, finding that landowner can be a little tricky. But yeah, making those calls. What's your conversation like? Do you have a perfect elevator speech that you've used before, or what's your initial contact? I've discussed this over and over in length over the last week of what that elevator speech is. What are you doing? How do you do it?
So, real quick, touching on what you're saying, driving around, I am constantly dropping pins when I'm driving around. When I see something, drop a pin. You can research it later. My elevator speech, I don't have an elevator speech just because I don't want something to be cut and paste. I want it to be able to be real with the person. So for me, you got to find your flow. You can practice if you want to, like get your neighbor, get your wife, get your friends, get your kids. Say, hey, as dumb as this sounds, just say, hey, can I practice just making a pitch to you? Just act standoffish, like you don't want to talk to me and you've never heard from me before. So first off, you got to figure out if you're going to be doing it in person or over the phone. In person typically works a lot better. If you're doing it in person, take off your hat as you walk up, be respectful, introduce yourself. And this from here, it goes the same on the phone. You make your intentions clear. Say, hey, my name's Mark Carpy, and I've been hunting in this area, or I'm looking to be hunting in this area. Can you tell me a little bit more about you're seeing deer, you're seeing elk, you're seeing bear? So you tell them a little bit more about it, and then they can start to open it up. You don't flat out ask them for hunting permission right off the bat. So from there, you're gonna, do small talk. You're gonna be breaking the ice. You're gonna be finding common interests. When you're doing that, obviously get their name right off the bat because they don't know that you already know their name. So get their name and use that frequently. But when people hear their name, they like to hear their name.
Why? Yeah, I'm curious on that because I never use people's names, and I don't know why that is. It's a lack of confidence that I have their name right sometimes. Uh, does is using someone's name a sign of confidence? Is that I'm
I
curious on
think
your thoughts on that.
I don't think that it's necessarily on your like what they're perceiving from you, except that they're going to start to like you because knowing somebody's name, think about conversations back. When somebody uses your name a lot, you like those people. You don't know why, but people like hearing their own name. It's just one thing that I found. I've had a history of a short time doing telemarketing.
Hey,
Oh man,
we
that's
all
an
have those
embarrassing
jobs.
past.
Oh, I've got that too. I sold vacuums for a couple of months. Straight garbage job. Straight garbage job. I made like $1,000 and I was done. It was stupid.
But the life skills that you can get from that.
Sure.
So being able to sell, I sold abrasives, so sandpaper, DA paper, and honestly, I can still probably tell you these pitches. But being able to talk to somebody that doesn't want to talk to you on the phone and turn it into a conversation and actually be able to sell something, all you're doing is you're selling yourself. You want them to like you. So you got to be confident in how you talk to them. So not, all shy, like, hi, I don't think I'm supposed to be here, but I am. Have some confidence because what's the worst that happens? It's just like if you never had that first conversation with your wife, you wouldn't be married. Have some confidence, stand your ground because the worst that happens is no, we already have somebody hunting it. Best case scenario, sure, I would love for you to come hunting. Finding common interests with them. I mean, if they have a nice yard, tell them they have a nice yard. If they have a nice house, tell them they have a nice house. Now, don't be fake with your compliments. Don't be, trying to build their ego because they're going to know that. They're not stupid. But through finding, I love doing yard work. So if you compliment their yard, you compliment their flowers, their trees, you're going to start conversations, especially if you know some of those flowers or the trees, or they have a John Deere tractor out there and you have John Deere tractors. It doesn't take much to find common interests with a random person. So you have to also be able to control the conversation. So steer it without being controlling. So in the back of your mind, you know the direction that you want your conversation to go. And it's okay to get off on a few rabbit holes as long as you're continuously heading in that direction.
What's the time period before you're getting right to the ask? I mean, you're anybody knocks on my door right now, your instant response is like, "Who the heck's at the door?"
Yep.
And especially if you're out in the middle of nowhere or just in the country, period, who the heck's at the door? And your initial guard is up. It's a safety thing. Who is this person? Dangerous? Why are they here? Are they going to sell me some thing? Is it Jehovah's Witness? What is it? What are they doing? What do they want?
I don't.
We get a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses around every once in a while, and you send them on down the road. But it's in the neighborhood girl selling cookies, and then as soon as you understand what they're there for, that guard comes down of like, okay, it's a little girl selling cookies. It's a Jehovah's Witness. I can be cordial to them, and it's like, no, I go to a Christian church, and so on, and do that sort of thing. But how long before you tell them what they're there for? Because they're probably concerned with why you're there until they know why. They're concerned with that, and they want to hear that pretty soon. So what's your thoughts on that?
So that's why you're starting the conversation, with introducing yourself and asking them, say, hey, I'm hunting in the area, or I'm looking to be hunting in the area. You're looking to gain information. So you're not asking for them. That's right off the bat. After you introduce yourself, get their name. So that's at the beginning of the conversation. So that's in the back of their mind. And then you're moving on to your casual conversations, finding common interests, having common ground before you ever make that ask. So early, like right at the beginning of the conversation, they're knowing what your intents are. They don't know that you're going to ask for permission to hunt on the property. They don't know if you're going to be hunting neighbors' land. You're just trying to gain information. So depending on how the conversation goes, I mean, there are some conversations that they are so anti-hunting, you're not even going to ask. And if you don't even ask, you're not getting shot down. You can just say, all right, well, thank you for your time, and move on. So when you finally do make that ask, after you've made the common interest, find common ground, you've controlled and steered the situation or the conversation where you want it to go, you can make that ask. And what I do when I'm asking, you can have something that is called the power of the pause. And what that is, you give an open-ended conversation that they can answer yes or no to. And it's something as simple as, now let me ask you something. If somebody were to ask you to come out here hunting, what would you say on that? And if they stop and think about it, don't say a word. That's the power of the pause. The first person and this is something I learned in telemarketing, the first person that talks is the person that loses. So
I learned that from The Office.
It was on The Office too.
Yeah.
So if I ask you, Clint, what would you say if someone like me were to ask you to go hunting out here?
Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
I don't know. That was a giant pause. I got
That was a giant pause, and how uncomfortable that is. You got to get used to that. There's so many times in there that I want to talk, that I want to keep adding to it. No, you asked your question, let it go and wait.
But are they
Because
gonna? Are they not gonna be like see right through that of the what instead of just going straight towards the ask of because that's basically an ask is what would you say? It's like dancing around the dating thing instead of just asking someone out. It's a so are you potentially looking to date somebody? Is that and you've got a short window on your ask. So and I'm just asking questions. I'm no expert on this. I wouldn't say I'm good at it even. It's a very uncomfortable thing for me and I don't like it. And for that reason, I mostly hunt public land. But I still do a lot of private land networking with people because of what I do for work and have those conversations for work. And I'm asking in that way. Way easier when you're asking for permission to take new time hunters out and to shoot does and to, interestingly enough, not any easier to shoot archery in my country here. I don't know what it is elsewhere in the country. I'd be curious to hear what people's thoughts are, but it is not easier to get permission for archery. The landowners that have deer problems, they don't want you dinking around with a stick and a string necessarily, even though you've got in South Dakota September 1st to the end of the year. That's a kind of a pain in the butt for them. Sometimes they're concerned about deer running around with the arrows in them, run over to the neighbors. I don't know what it is. But getting permission for archery has been a little bit more difficult in my world here for some reason.
So in the Midwest, it's complete opposite because all their family comes in and goes hunting during rifle season typically. So you have archery season. Nope, nobody's hunting it. Go for it. But when you're asking that question, the power of the pause, if it's going to be a no, it's going to be a no. And they're just going to tell you no. If they're thinking about it, that power of the pause, that is when you wait, hold your ground, and that's where you have more opportunity to gain access to that land. So that's not at the beginning of the conversation. That's towards the middle or end, depending on what their response is.
Hmm.
If their response is a yes, then you can, okay, your guard's down, you're dropped, you're relaxed. Hey, it worked. Start moving on further to other conversations about, okay, well, where do you think would be a good spot for me to go hunting? Because they're going to tell you. If they give you permission and an opportunity to hunt, they are going to tell you where to hunt. They're going to tell you where they're at. The other thing is when the conversation is over, it doesn't matter even if they say no. Still thank them for the time. Be very respectful because you know what? There's always an opportunity that you can come back. Now you have history with that person. Just because it's no today doesn't mean that it's going to be a no next year. One thing that
those hard no's are always a like you're mid sentence of introducing yourself. For me anyway, those are always you're there for and not even 30 seconds being in front of them, and it's a hard no because and then they give you the reasons and also all that. So I like your line of it's always a thank you for your time, no big deal, appreciate it, and off you go, because that's definitely the way to handle that.
I think when you were talking before about people being able to see right through, I genuinely care about people, and the stuff that I am talking to them about, like if I'm making compliments, it's stuff that I am truly passionate about, stuff that I truly care about. I'm not just saying stuff to inflate their ego. I truly care. And I think having that level of truly caring, where if you saw that person down the road after they told you no and they had a flat tire, ran out of gas, think about, would you still stop for them? I would. It doesn't matter who it is, and I'm not looking for another opportunity to be able to talk to them about hunting. I wouldn't even bring up hunting. Just give them a ride. I think as soon as you're able to have, like, think about it that way. Okay, think about this, like, this is your mom. Okay, you're going to an old lady's house. It's your mom or your grandma. You truly care. You're truly having the conversations, the small talk. Now, ranchers are a whole different breed when you're getting permission. 2 years ago, they opened up elk hunting in Nebraska. And every Tom, Dick, and Harry was buying a $5 tag for non-resident, or $15, whatever. What was it? It was ridiculously cheap because they were in the cropland.
Oh, yeah.
And
Predation, whole hunt thing, clear them out.
yeah, they had an ad on Field and Stream. I'm like, no way this is real. And I looked at it and like, sure enough. So I started calling around and trying to talk to people because they didn't say exactly where all the elk were, but you were able to talk to people. I have one contact out there and I got permission. He didn't have elk on his property, but I got permission to deer hunt out there. And I haven't even taken him up on that. But the next time I went through, brought him a bottle of bourbon. We got to talking on the bourbon that he likes, and I brought him down a bottle of bourbon. I said, this is what I like. And he said, I have an open door. Anytime I want to come down, I'm more than welcome to come down and go deer hunting.
Heck yeah.
Just making conversations with people, because what's the worst case that happens is they say no. And at that point in time, you got to be able to have the willpower and the confidence to get back on the horse and figure out, okay, where did that conversation go wrong? Was it me? Was it just the person? What was it? And be able to keep going.
So obviously we can, if we're local, and like to hear this perspective from you, knocking on doors is an easy way to go. Like, not easy. I'm not going to say that's easy, because it's get your blood pressure going. It does mine anyway. And most people, especially new hunters, other people have no problem. They can walk right up to anybody's door. So walking up to that, but in that Nebraska deal, you were in Minnesota and they're in Nebraska. So from a distance, or even across the state, what's your methodologies? Got any tips, tricks on doing that?
So those ones were really hard because a lot of those are owned by huge corporations, whether it's Texas, whether it's California, New York City. There's a lot more that goes into finding those bigger properties. So first you have to be able to find the owner, which is on Onyx. They got a New York address. Great. Figure out the time zone. Find a good time to be calling them. Nobody wants calls when they're at dinner. Nobody wants calls first thing in the morning. So find that happy medium time. And when you leave a voicemail with them, if people take nothing away from this, take this. Leave a voicemail saying, hey, this is Mark. I need you to call me back. 763, blah, 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 blah. And nothing else. All right. So what's your thought when you get a voicemail like that? What are you thinking? You're not thinking telemarketer. Like, it could be an emergency. Okay, is my kid hurt? Is this Mark from soccer practice that my kids are at? Is this Mark from this last customer that I was talking to that the quote's coming through? Who is this? So they're gonna call you back no matter what. The more vague that you can be with the voicemail, but like making it sound urgent, you'll get a call back. That's one thing. So once you finally figure out who it is, so say that it's a big CEO in Texas that owns it. All right, you talk to him, he sends you down. All right, well, you need to talk to my division manager. He's out of Los Angeles. Call him. Okay, you need to talk to the ranch manager. He's out of Colorado. You call him. All right, you need to talk to my foreman. He's actually in Nebraska. Call him. And it's just working your way down the chain till you get to that person. Now, there was a couple times I got down to that person and no, we're not allowing anybody hunting out here. Insurance issues. We're not allowing anybody hunting out here because we have everybody hunting already. And those are hard. But occasionally you do get these ones where it's, all right, let's have a conversation. What does this look like? And then from there, obviously I knew that it was a cattle operation. I did plenty of my research, did the background on them. It was an Angus beef. They had registered stock. I'm into beef cattle. I know some of the names that was some of their stock. So that was a natural end for me, being able to talk to them about that. As stupid as it sounds, that was a very dry year, I believe, and they were running all crop pivots. You can see all the crop pivots from the satellite imagery. Oh man, it's pretty dry out there. You guys running pivots, or how are you guys doing your irrigation? Small things, easy things for small talk. Just got to be a little bit creative, smarter than the next average Joe that's been calling him for the last 10 years. So it'll be a little bit different. If you're doing local, Minnesota, well, I think everywhere has honey. Drop them off a jar of honey. Cost you $15 for a jar of honey. They're going to remember you. Doesn't
That's
matter if they give you permission or not.
time I've heard that this week about
Yeah.
honey. That's a really good addition. And I do have for South Dakota, this is a great deal. But maybe it's the only state that does it. I don't know. I can't imagine it is. We are kind of one of those states that we do our own thing sometimes. But there is a state statute that removes the liability from landowners for doing outdoor recreation. So, and that is a huge unknown for a lot of people. And so if the liability is a concern, South Dakota's covered. You have coverage under this this statute. And well, if you're from South Dakota, you can look it up. It's 20-9-14 under Title 20, Chapter 9, Section 14. So South Dakota Codified Law, Personal Rights and Obligations is what that's called. So it removes that liability for outdoor recreation or agritourism exemption. So kind of a cool deal. I've got them now printed on little cards for people to hand out and for our state anyway. So I don't do your research. Maybe Nebraska's at, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana. I have no idea what any other state has for that protection, but that's huge. If there's a concern of liability, it's like, well, actually here's some information on that. You don't need to worry whether you give me permission or not. You don't need to worry. Here's some information on that. Might be a helpful thing.
That is a great thing to have in your back pocket. I'm sure you're not the only state like that. One thing that you got to be protective of or careful of, I will say, is if the landowner says something, you have to tread very lightly in giving them a reason why not.
Sure.
Because they may get very defensive that you're calling them a liar. You got to tread carefully. So, I mean, even if they say, oh, no, we don't have that many bucks out here this year because, it was a bad winter. Well, this was the easiest winter there was. You're not going to tell them that. Like, all right, well, I appreciate your time. Let me ask you this. You got a lot of prairie dogs out here, and I see that you're running cows. Is that something that you'd ever be interested in having somebody come out and just get rid of some of those for you? There's a great in right there. All of a sudden, they can find your reputation as you're out there. And okay, maybe next year down the road, hey, I got a couple deer out here that, we don't have anybody deer hunting this year. Do you want to give it a go? I would love to. So that's where it's also taking that low hanging fruit where if you have a long-term perspective that, okay, this can be an awesome elk hunting property. They have a lot of lower pasture land where there's a lot of prairie dogs. They have badgers out there. They have coyotes. Take the low-hanging fruit because usually people say yes to that right away.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think that you just, even if they say no, show them respect. If you're not a stater like me, stop in the next year and just say, hey, just stopping in. I know that you said no last year. I'm not looking for permission to be hunting out here. Just wanted to say hi. I thought we had some really good conversation. And, eventually being that squeaky wheel, you may get the grease.
Yeah. Do you ever offer work and stuff off? I know that sometimes that I hear it, I say it, but I've never really done it just because of I've offered it, and I think partly one is they were too close, like friends of the family. They're like, you are not working anything off for us. They didn't want that. Two, I haven't had that opportunity necessarily because it's out of state. You can't really go there I mean, you certainly could and go and do that, but it's been so welcoming that a gift is probably the best option in that scenario. But for local or within a few hours or something like that, I haven't had any great success with working stuff off or trapping raccoons or shooting prairie dogs, anything like that. But it's also, I'm wanting to, and one of my examples is Southeast South Dakota. Monster whitetails are on the border of western Iowa. Great whitetail country. As soon as you get like an hour and a half south of Sioux Falls, hour south of Sioux Falls. Been trying to get some permission in that area for a while because my in-laws are there, and I would love to have something to do when it's a call or a trip back, and I can go do something. Summertime, springtime, I'd love to do something. And I've pitched I can fix fence, something specific. I think with that you need to be a little bit more specific, with not just like, you're going to be a pain in the butt if you're you're a skillless piece of work or human being. Like, you don't have the skills to fix fence. You don't have the strength or whatever to move this. You don't have a pickup to move brush, whatever it is. So I think you're needing some sort of skill. Have you tried that, done that? Any success?
Yeah, so I always offer, absolutely always offer, especially the people that do grant you permission. But if they're local or semi-local, around Easter, drop them off a ham. Drop them off some steaks mid-year. Hey, I'm thinking about you. I appreciate you. Now, if they don't want wild game, if they are interested in the wild game that you shoot, definitely give them some of that. And don't just give them, oh, these are the grinds, here's a burger. Nah, give them some good cuts in there. But one thing that I found is huge is dropping off an Easter ham. If you do that, you will never lose permission to hunt out there. It's the off season. Nobody's thinking about hunting in the springtime, unless you're turkey hunting. But nobody's going out thinking about shooting a monster bear, shooting a monster deer, elk, whatever. Drop them off a ham. I mean, heaven's sakes, there's places that you can do like edible arrangements. They do that with meat too. You can just ship somebody a ham and say, hey, I appreciate you letting me hunt out here this year. Now, definitely do it before, early enough before Easter, so that way they don't buy theirs, but just thoughtful gifts like that. Offering to help them. I have never had anybody take me up on that, and I have offered every single one. And these are random strangers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a hit or miss whether or not they will take you up on it, but definitely offer and be willing to. If they say, yeah, do you mind being here this time? And they give you that opportunity, don't miss that opportunity. Don't be late. Be on time. Be there. If you have something going on that day, say, hey, I have something pre-arrangements here. Would this day work instead? Just figure out some way. If they're asking for help, they need it.
Yeah. Well, Mark, I drew a tag that is predominantly mule deer, not a great, and it's a whitetail tag, predominantly mule deer, and I'm going to have a hard time filling that tag. So it'll be a challenge, but I've been motivated to tackle that and see what I can do with maybe gain some permission. I've got a spot that I want to hit public first, but maybe some of that private is an option. So thanks for sharing all that info, and we'll see if we can't help some people out and just be a little motivated to go knock on a door or have that conversation, give some tools to have that conversation. So everyone, thanks so much for listening. And once again, go check out Ridge Patrol stuff, as well as, us on Instagram and Facebook at Western Hunting Hub. Thanks for listening.
To the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country.